Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tech SEO podcast. Today I am joined by Stephen Spiewak. Stephen is the Director of Organic Marketing at Hallo and has previously worked with Vivid Seats, USA Football and CBS. Stephen, welcome to the podcast.
Dan, thank you so much for having me. Really excited to be here.
No, it's great to be catching up with you. Prior to this, we were doing about 20 minutes of just catching up because it's been a couple of years since we last kind of caught up in California.
Yeah, and you were sharing how the weather's really hot in the UK, and by American standards, it sounds like a beautiful day. So.
Yeah, it's just we're not built for heat, we're not built for cold, we're built for rain and misery, I guess. So yeah, well, Stephen and I are going to be talking to you today. We're just going to kind of getting a feel of what SEO is like in slightly different sectors and just kind of a take on that. So before we kind of jump into the first kind of question, Stephen, do you want to kind of just give an overview of what Hallo is and why it's an interesting kind of company?
Yeah, so Hallo is a prayer and meditation app. It has its roots as a Catholic prayer app, but we have a number of prayers and audio guided meditations and content on the app that is also kind of just more broadly Christian. And we have a number of users who are Christian in addition to kind of like our core Catholic audience. But yeah, it is an audio guided meditation app that helps people pray, find peace, draw closer to God. And we were started in December of 2018 by our founder who had kind of fallen away from his faith in college and got big into some of the secular meditation apps. And after a while, they were not really doing it for him anymore. And so he asked a friend of his from his college days at Notre Dame, a priest at the University of Notre Dame, hey, does the Catholic Church have anything similar to some of these meditation apps? And the priest basically said, yes, we have, 2,000 years of rich history of meditation and prayer. How did you miss this? And so he essentially built this app to help himself pray and introduced it to others and started sharing it. And it's really taken off. We just recently crossed 20 million installs. So it's available in 8 languages. We have people in more than 150 countries using the app. And it's clearly not entirely the result of, we have people that work hard, people that are really talented, but there's certainly a divine presence guiding our success because there's no way that we alone could achieve what we have achieved so far. And in February of this year, we hit #1 overall in the App Store in the US, which was a really significant moment for us.
No, that's fantastic. And yeah, 6 years, 20 million users. I imagine the MAU and DAU on that's going to be quite high as well. It's no small feat. So I kind of guess with an app and a website and the kind of whole application in the space that it is, how do you kind of approach SEO at Hallo? How does it really kind of differ from previous approaches of other organizations? Do you have to go things slightly differently?
Yeah, it's very different than my last role, which was at a ticket marketplace, e-commerce focus. So I was at a publicly traded company with, a really big technical team, engineers, product, and really like the website was the product, right? So like getting people to transact on your website or within your app was kind of the focus. And so there were a lot of resources to capture people in organic search, and once they got to the site, and make sure that they were converting. Now at Hallo, it's a little bit of it's a much different experience, really, because the product inside of the app is very different than what we have on our website, right? We want to get people into the app because that's where like the really high quality immersive experience exists. So we invest tremendously in content and experience inside of the app. But, we're very lean when it comes to how do we drive people to the app via organic search and via our website. And so the flip side of that is, I have a lot of autonomy to do different tests and to do different initiatives on the site that can help drive and improve not only traffic, but different ways that we can get people to convert, different ways that we can kind of nurture relationships with people who might be interested in using the app. So very different mentality, kind of than the e-commerce experience where people come to your site looking to transact, right? Like ideally they've come from some high intent keyword and they're ready to buy. At Hallow, it's, kind of more full funnel, more relationships with people, getting them to trust your content. And I would say that, that's a big focus of ours. The content in our app is so well produced. We invest heavily in just beautiful illustrations. It is very well researched. We want to kind of reflect that in the content that we produce on the web. So in this age of, AI spinning up thousands of pages and, kind of content that maybe doesn't have the same sort of quality, but you can get a lot of quantity out of it. We're kind of swimming in the opposite direction and really focusing on high quality, original, unique content that helps people build trust, because prayer is such a personal experience that, you want to know, like, where are these resources coming from? Who are these people? Right. And so, having content that really reflects, our expertise, our quality, who we are as a company. And also it's kind of nice for me because I have a degree, my undergraduate degree in theology. So works out really nicely to be able to produce, resources that help people kind of find peace and draw closer to God.
No, definitely. How do you generally find, so we let's talk about like kind of a content side of SEO, but how does your approach differ with anything like backlinks? Because obviously I know Hello does a lot with celebrities. They do a lot in terms of advertising, things like that. Is it a kind of a general thing where you generally get a decent backlink profile from just being genuine and get the things, or just because of the nature of the kind of sector it's in and what the internet is, essentially, do you sometimes kind of open up a tool, look at the backlinks, and just kind of want to scream everything into a disavow kind of situation?
I would say that being a smaller organization, it allows us to be very kind of unified in a lot of our efforts. And so we have a really strong awareness of how all of these different pieces of the marketing puzzle and the communications puzzle kind of fit together. And so things that are good for our brand, things that are good for our communications and PR, things that are good for SEO, right? Like all of those things kind of play together, and having a strong brand and being mentioned in the press. And, we recognize and appreciate and understand how those things can impact our SEO and our organic visibility. So, being kind of small and nimble, I think allows us to really stay close to things like, SEO and comms and brand reputation. And again, like, brand is really, really important to us because of the nature of what we do. Like this is, people's faith lives, people's prayer lives. Like they need to trust us. And so we take our brand very seriously. The other thing I would say is that, some of our partnerships and the people that we work with and the people that source our content in some of their, different pages on the web, we have really unique backlinks, right? So like, the different dioceses, different churches, different schools, like it may not be the New York Times or the Washington Post, but they are backlinks that are extremely relevant for us. So it's almost as good as the New York Times or the Washington Post because we're getting links, from schools, from teachers, from religious officials who trust our content. And I think those are really strong signals to Google that if someone is looking for a prayer resource online, that we are as authoritative as anyone.
No, absolutely. One thing you kind of touched on earlier on as well, when you said like AI and spewing out lots of bad content, things like that. How was the market kind of, well, I say by market, your kind of sector being affected by the AI gold rush that's kind of happened over the last year and a half? Have you seen a number of competitor sites starting to rush to using AI to create content? Are you seeing the kind of fly-by-night AI spinning things coming up in your sector?
I would say back in the kind of e-commerce space, it doesn't, based on people I've talked to, it doesn't seem like there's perhaps a big impact in the e-commerce world as far as kind of Google's AI overviews and things like that, because those are such kind of lucrative search ads, queries, people looking for Taylor Swift tickets. Like, I don't know how much Google wants to disrupt that with AI overviews. On our end, we see some competitors kind of spinning up low quality, not only sites, but even entire apps that are kind of lower quality and clearly like inspired by the work that we're doing. But again, we're not generally too worried about AI content driving people to other websites, because people that are looking to have a relationship with God, people that are looking for ways to pray, I think where you get that information really, really matters, and people know and they trust Hallow. And so we're not too concerned about different AI initiatives, and really, like, some of our competitors are publishers, so they're investing in human written content, and they recognize that there are people looking for prayer resources, and that's often who we're competing against. So it's not necessarily kind of AI websites that are generating prayer resources, but some kind of women's lifestyle or other lifestyle publications that recognize, like, hey, there are people that are searching for what prayer do I say before Thanksgiving dinner, or how do I begin to pray a certain prayer. And some of our publishing competitors will create content that is trying to capture search traffic there, even if it's less relevant for their brands.
Do you ever see a future where Google will turn its lens on the kind of sector in the same way it has like e-commerce and travel historically, and kind of be like, I can aggregate some of this data, I can read religious texts, I can pull this through, and I can provide that kind of experience in SERP? Or do you think Google might just leave it alone and focus on other kind of markets more?
I would say it's such a niche market that I don't know, how much Google pays attention to kind of the faith and prayer space. But it's something that we're always monitoring. We're always kind of keeping an eye on different changes, different trends. But I think for the most part, it's a really unique space that, again, requires a lot of trust.
No, absolutely. Have you found with kind of not just Google, but things like Bing's AI expansions and other kind of AI discovery tools, has that really affected the audience in the faith and prayer space much, or is it kind of weathered it quite well?
I would say, perhaps, especially when AI overviews was first launched and was, I think, a little more aggressive than what we've seen more recently, we may have lost some traffic around like very top funnel clicks. What is today's feast day, or who is Saint whoever? But I think for the most part, the kind of more important queries that we're really trying to reach people on, we're not seeing much of an AI impact on those.
Okay, no, that's cool. It's always just interesting how it affects different sectors, and as you said, with this being a niche, it's not something that a lot of people have experienced or seen or even look at through compare stuff. So kind of flipping this on its head around, what excites you about SEO right now? What kind of things are you looking forward to right now in what Google's saying, what Bing's saying? What excites you about the future?
Well, on the AI topic, one of the things that has really been personally interesting to me is how AI has helped kind of improve my technical capabilities, right? So, asking AI to help me write a regex statement that I can include in Search Console, asking AI to help me with a Python query to hit a certain API, like kind of technical skills that can improve my ability as an SEO that would have taken me days, hours to kind of figure out 6 months ago. Now I can hop into, Chat GPT and get solutions to them pretty quickly. So, for me, I think that's been a very positive thing, to kind of be able to do more technically without needing to tag in a developer, an engineer, or someone who knows Python backwards and forwards. But for someone like me who is not as technical as a developer, leveraging AI to do some of those tasks has been really helpful. And I would say the other big thing that I've really grown to appreciate in the last few years is the community that has, kind of continued to thrive in the SEO space. You and I are in an SEO Slack that, I think there's a lot of people that just want to help others. And I think there's this sense of like, we're all in this together. There's so many changes. There's constantly updates and changes and announcements. I think it's kind of fostered this, how do we help one another as SEO professionals, and kind of seeing that play out in SEO Slack, sometimes on Twitter or X as well, at different conferences, at different events. Like, that really has me feeling good about working as an SEO. The fact that so many people are willing to help and share expertise and troubleshoot and problem solve. Like, that's really encouraging to me, for the future of our industry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think this is one of a handful of industries where you need that village around you on things, because in our just ability to experience things, we're only ever going to be narrow scoped to what is actually out there as a whole. And being able to compile or congregate as many people as possible, as many varying experiences. I think in that one of the Slack groups we're a part of, is the main one run by Noah Lerner, which I'm happy to name drop because it's a fantastic group that he's modding and running. I think somebody posted something in there today about site links, and there's already 5 or 6 different approaches that can be taken, and it makes it's positive, it's good, but it's non-gatekeepery, and actually allows us to grow as an industry and grow across things. So kind of flipping on that AI kind of side, Ben, one thing I'm kind of asking people at the moment, which I just think is an interesting topic, because obviously we've had the rise of AI, and over the years we've had many other kind of things, like when DuckDuckGo kind of started pushing itself and was going to be the next Google killer and hasn't. So OpenAI have obviously just kind of announced a beta for Search GPT. From kind of an industry point of view, a couple of questions I'm curious to ask you is, A, do you ever actually think it'll ever be launched, given the reported running costs of OpenAI right now as it is, without putting the running costs of a full-fledged search engine on top of it? And if it does launch, do you ever think it'll really gain that market penetration and awareness to be significant in not just even rivaling Google, but I'm going to go as far as even saying rivaling Bing at this point?
So it seems like it's going to launch. I mean, it's all very new. It was announced about a week ago, right? And I think it's kind of like wait and see mode right now. But if I had to guess, it seems like it will at least be launched. And will it rival Google? Will it rival Bing? It kind of reminds me of the long running joke about is SEO dead? Is Google dead? Right? Like, I am hard pressed to bet against Google. And so, I kind of think of it as, some of these kind of other emerging search channels, right? So, like, people looking for information on TikTok or Reddit or YouTube. That's kind of how I'm thinking of it, is like, all right, what is this? How does this work? What sort of presence do we want to try to have? Is this a place where we can reach people that might be interested in what we offer? And are there things we can do to kind of increase our organic visibility on these emerging channels? So I don't know how successful it will be, but I expect it to launch, and I would not bet against Google, and I would not bet on Search GPT being a significant threat to them.
Well, thank you very much, Stephen, for the insights and sharing your experiences of not just obviously working in the prayer and faith kind of niche, but also pastings as well, and obviously your thoughts on AI. So that's going to be everything for this episode of the Tech SEO podcast. Thank you everyone for listening at home, or in the gym, in the car, or just listening in the background whilst you're streaming into an Excel spreadsheet. Please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, or to follow the audio version of the podcast on your favorite podcast app, or on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, all the main ones. So I've been Dan Taylor, and this has been the Tech SEO podcast, and thank you very much for listening.